Imagine a survival horror game where you stalk hotel guests to steal their souls. The art style looks like a low-poly papercraft, and the characters talk in riddles. And the whole place feels like a cartoon purgatory. That's Gregory Horror Show, a game based on a Japanese anime, never released in the US, and somehow still feels like one of the most unique horror experiences I've ever played.
Give me back my dolly.
And yeah, it gets pretty weird.
Give it back! The doll she's looking for is me!
At a glance, Gregory Horror Show looks like a surreal indie horror title with a strange, boxy art style. But there's way more going on here. The game is actually based on a Japanese anime of the same name, where guests are trapped in a purgatorial hotel slowly losing their minds, or themselves entirely. That same idea drives the game. You're a soul collector, targeting guests one by one as their psychological breakdowns unfold in real time. What really sets it apart is the visual design. The papercraft style characters, they're heavily inspired by the work of Naomi Iwata. It gives it this handcrafted, almost childlike look, which only makes the horror land harder. It's equal parts eerie and absurd, like if a fever dream came to life on the PS2. Gregory Horror Show was developed by Capcom's short-lived Studio 3, and despite positive reception in Japan, it never got a US release. The style was too weird, the tone too in between. Cute but unsettling, cartoonish but mature. It wasn't clear who it was for, which might be exactly why it's worth talking about now.
Isn't that my son's screwdriver? What? Return it to my son!
So here's how Gregory Horror Show actually works. Each night you're stuck in the Gregory house, and your goal is to collect the souls of its guests. But you're not fighting them, you're studying them. Every guest follows a set routine, and it's your job to observe, learn their habits, and figure out when they're vulnerable. Once you've cracked their schedule, you can move in, steal their bottled soul, and run before they even notice. And it is run, because if you get caught, they'll chase you down. Most of the time, you're not faster than them. Your only real option is to break line of sight and hope they lose interest. If you do get caught, that's when the horror show kicks in. There's surreal theatrical cutscenes that shove your character into a nightmare. They're short, but they mess with your sanity, which is one of the game's core survival mechanics. The sanity works like a psychological health bar. If it drops to zero, whether from getting chased or standing in the dark too long, or just witnessing weird stuff, you go insane and it's game over. You can raise it back up by reading books, using items, or chewing on one of the hotel's color-coded herbs, green, yellow, or red. It's a very clear nod to Resident Evil, but reimagined for this surreal cartoon world. There's also an in-game shop, where you can trade for herbs, items, or even hints. But the most useful tool you've got is your memo book. Every time you learn something, like a guest's pattern or weak point, it gets logged automatically. So even if you fail and have to replay at night, you don't lose progress. You're still building your understanding of the hotel. That's what makes the game feel like a puzzle box. Each soul is a self-contained mystery you crack over time. And once you finish the new batch of guests, a new night kicks in, with new guests and new challenges.
The secret is in the sauce. Smoking is cuisine's foe.
The tension builds naturally too. Early on, the hotel feels mostly empty. But as the nights go on, more and more guests start patrolling the halls. Even the ones you've already dealt with still stick around. So by mid-game, just walking to the lobby starts to feel dangerous. Gregory Horror Show isn't about scares or jump cuts. It's about a slow burn dread, the kind where even basic movements start to feel risky. And that's where the horror really kind of hits here. Hey, if you're into weird, overlooked horror games like this, you're in the right place. I cover a lot of cult classics, forgotten gems, and all this strange stuff nobody really ever talks about anymore. So if you want more like this in your feed, consider subbing. It helps a ton, and it keeps this game vault we're building together growing. There are a ton of strange and memorable characters in Gregory Horror Show, but a few I want to go over, both in terms of gameplay and what they might represent under the surface. Like Neko Zombie, for example. He's stitched up, a broken version of a regular guest, and he's one of the only ones who actually helps you. You'll find him locked in a cage, scared and hollow, but still trying to guide you out. It's never outright said, but his whole presence feels like a symbol of trauma. Like what happens when someone's been completely chewed up by this place and left behind. Then we have Catherine, the nurse with the giant syringe. She has this creepy way of popping up and trying to draw your blood over and over. Mechanically, it's just another timed soul-stealing puzzle. But thematically, it kind of comes off like a twisted version of obsessive affection. Her behavior is suffocating, invasive. It almost reads like someone who refuses to let go of you emotionally, even when it's damaging. And one of them that stood out the most to me was the clockmaster. One of the more intimidating figures in the entire game. On the surface, he's just another guest with time-based mechanics. But the more you engage with his story, the more layered he becomes. He's obsessed with order, routine, the passing of time. You break the rules, he shows up to punish you. But his real vulnerability comes through in a way he interacts with his son, who's also a guest in the hotel. There's this moment where you steal the boy's screwdriver and show it to the clockmaster, and that single act sends him into a rage. And then he begins chasing you, trying to freeze time to catch you. And on the third time that he freezes time, he completely fails. One of his screws comes loose, and now he can't hold himself together. The only way he can keep ticking, literally, is with the help of his son. The boy uses the screwdriver to repair him, even after all that tension. That alone changes how you see him. He's not just a harsh enforcer, he's aging, breaking down, and maybe terrified that he can't keep up. That no matter how tightly he clings to control, time keeps slipping, and in the end, it's his son, not fear or punishment, that holds him together. Each of these guests start out feeling like just another puzzle to solve, but the longer you stay with them, the more it feels like there's something deeper going on. Whether it's the way they act, the way they lash out, or the way their routines break down, it's clear these aren't just quirky NPCs. They're people who feel stuck, broken, or lost. And the more you watch, the more that weird cartoon layer peels back, until you realize this whole hotel might be a reflection of pain, routine, or even regret. So why should you play Gregory Horror Show? Because it's the kind of game that makes you pause, not just to solve a puzzle, but to wonder what it's really trying to say. On the surface, it's a quirky horror game with an oddball art style and puzzle-like structure. But once you're inside the hotel, it doesn't take long before things start to feel off. Not in a jump scare kind of way, more like a quiet unease that builds the longer you stay. Every guest you meet has a routine, a pattern, a mask they wear, and it's your job to figure them out. But as you do, the game never breaks character, it never stops being eerie. You're collecting souls, yes, but it's what those souls represent that starts to matter. The zombie cat that seems stuck, the nurse who clearly has obsessive issues, and the clockmaster losing track of time and only being held together by his son. It's all wrapped in strange behavior, but every one of them feels real in a symbolic way, like fractured pieces of someone's life or regrets. The gameplay itself reinforces this. You're not armed, you're not powerful, you observe. You learn their paths, you wait for the right moment. It turns horror into strategy, and strategy into something personal. And that rhythm, that slow, deliberate, a little awkward, matches the game's themes perfectly. You're forced to slow down and live in the hotel's strange cycle, which makes every breakthrough feel more meaningful. And look, we don't get many games like this. Not then, and definitely not now. Gregory Horror Show isn't trying to scare you with cheap tricks or give you a power fantasy. It's trying to unsettle you, to show you something surreal, uncomfortable, and sometimes even sad, all through the lens of a forgotten cartoon, and a style that looks like a toy box turned inside out. You should play it because it dares to be weird, and quiet, and thoughtful all at once. It taps into that feeling of being lost in a place that reflects your own fears, without ever needing to explain itself. And if you stuck with it, you realize that the hotel isn't just full of monsters, it's full of stories. And maybe even a little truth. Gregory Horror Show isn't a game for everyone, but if you're the kind of person who finds meaning in the weird corners of gaming history, this one's worth checking into. It's short, strange, and sticks with you long after it's over. And if you want more like this, check out the Horror Shelf or the Oddities Room playlists. They're on the screen. They're packed with deep cuts, strange gems, and games you probably forgot even existed. If you've ever played Gregory Horror Show, or have never even heard of it, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're new here, a like and a sub goes a long way. We're building a game vault here, one forgotten game at a time. But as always, I'll see y'all later.
When you find them all, come see me again in your dreams. You got that? See you later.